Hi guys and welcome. Today I'm going to be trying out brand new Dior setting powders. They come in two different types of finishes. One is the Nude Radiant Filter and the other one is the Nude Matte Filter. Now with the Nude Matte Filter, that comes in 5 different shades, and I'll put a picture of that up a little bit later. With the Nude Radiant Filter, that just comes in the 1 shade. So before we get started and having a chat about these different setting powders, I'll just explain what I've got on my face at the moment and also my skin type. So those of you that haven't seen my other videos before, I have mature skin, I am 55 years old, and I also have oily skin. Now also it is winter here in New Zealand at the moment, so even though my skin is oily, it's not as oily as it usually is, say, in the middle of summer. Now I have base makeup on, also my eyeshadow and mascara, but I haven't set under my eyes yet, and I haven't got on any powder whatsoever. So the foundation that I've got on is the Forever, the Hydra Nude one. This was recently released by Dior. This is a really beautiful foundation. It's probably a little bit too much for me in those warmer months when I first tried that out and did the dedicated video, but now the weather is cooler. This is really beautiful, but I still have to set it with powder. So I don't know whether you'll be able to see on camera, but I am looking very glowy. As I said, I haven't set under my eyes either. I intend to use those powders under my eyes and see how they work under my eyes as well, because at the moment there is another powder that I will talk about that is one that I do tend to use for under my eyes. So this is what the packaging looks like, and it is similar to, although a different color, but it feels and looks and has that similar pattern on the front as those bronzers that were released a little while ago. So it is quite spongy to touch, and it has that stitching on the front there, and it does look and feels really luxurious. Now whether you get the radiant one or the matte one, or you get both of them, the outside color is exactly the same. So I'll just show you the packaging close up. So first of all, I'll just have a chat about the Dior Forever, the Nude. This is the Radiant Filter one, and I'll show you what this looks like inside. As I said, this just comes in the 1 shade. Now this has 6 grams of product, and it is made in France, and I'll just have a look at the shelf life. It has a shelf life of 12 months from date of opening. So this is what it looks like inside. It is a translucent, or supposed to be a translucent setting powder, and it's supposed to have radiance to it. So we'll see what it's like when I put it on. And just of note, this does have a fragrance, and neither of these powders include talc. And what I'll do is, I did take screenshots because the ingredients isn't on the Dior website here in New Zealand, but I took screenshots of each of the outside packaging. So for this one, the Radiant Filter, I'll put that up now so you can pause and take a look. So this one is the Dior Forever Nude Radiant Filter. I'm just having a look at the website now. And as I said, this just comes in the 1 shade. It says Dior Forever has created its first blurring setting powder with a translucent radiant finish and ultra-fine pearlescent pigments. Set, blurred and brightened, the foundation will last all day, and the skin is hydrated thanks to a formula infused with hyaluronic acid. Now the other powder also has hyaluronic acid as well. It says its semi-transparent base, concentrated in pearlescent micropigments, helps optimize light reflection on the skin, blurs the complexion and fades imperfections for a soft focus effect. The complexion is radiant and refreshed in 1 application. They say that the barely there powder applies to the skin and blends in gently with a lightweight feel, all while leaving the shade and coverage of the foundation completely intact. Now with this one, the Radiant one, it says the setting powder can be applied alone or over foundation using a Dior Backstage brush. I don't have that one. They say the number 14 brush. You can use any brush. You apply to the eye area also to brighten under the eyes. Now I wouldn't use a radiant powder for under my eyes, but I am going to do that today. So what I'm going to do is apply this on one side of my face and the other powder on the other. And I'm also going to show it to you once I've applied both of them. I'll also show it to you in natural light as well. So I haven't tried either of these powders yet. This is going to be first impressions with you guys. But what I will do is I'll wear this after the video. It'll be at least 8 hours, and I will do a final check-in and let you know my final thoughts. Now, without trying either of these powders, I think the other one's probably going to be more suited with my oily skin. And if I didn't have this channel, I probably wouldn't have picked up this Radiant one, but I wanted to show you and what my thoughts are on it, because those of you that have more normal to dry skin, or even those that like a more radiant finish, may prefer this powder over the other one. So for the first time, I'm going to put my finger in this powder, and it feels silky smooth, and it does feel very silky. I'm just putting it between my fingers now and feeling it, and it feels super silky. Now, I am going to put this on the back of my hand, and I will show it to you, but I don't know how well this is going to show. It's probably one of those powders that is probably going to be best shown once it's applied, so you can only just see it. Now, it is supposed to be a translucent powder, and I'll just go over it, and it does feel absolutely, it just feels beautiful. It's very silky, and I don't know whether you'll be able to see it on camera, but it does have a slight radiance to it, but to me, or on my hand, it doesn't look over the top. Now, the brush that I normally use to put on setting powder is my Mer brush, so that's the one that I'm going to use today. I'm going to put it over my face first. I'm going to put the Radiant powder on my right side, and I'll put the other one on my left side. So let's just swirl this brush in and pop it on. Now, even though this may look, I think from the feel of it when I swatched it and put it on the back of my hand, it's probably going to feel really beautiful on. I don't know whether it's going to have that holding power that it probably should have, and that's because of my oily skin. And I also want to wear the foundation that I wore today, because it wouldn't be much point to show you how both of these powders wore if I put on a more of a soft matte foundation. So that's why I decided on the one that I'm wearing today. So as I'm patting it on, as I said, both of these do have a fragrance, and I think it's similar to the one that was in the bronzer, although I can't be sure. But as I'm putting it on, the brush starts to just glide over my skin really smoothly. So compared to that side that's got no powder on, this has mattified it, but it's not supposed to be a mattifying powder, but it has set it down. But there is a really beautiful radiance, and I think it actually looks really gorgeous. I just don't know how well it'll last throughout the day, and that's only because of my oily skin. Now, also, I'm going to put this under my eyes. Some people put powder on under their eyes using a small fluffy brush, or they use some type of puff like this one here. I'm going to put it on how I normally do, and what I do is I just put my finger into the pan. This is how I always put powder on under my eyes. And I'm just going to press it under my eyes and see how that looks. So it does look really lovely under the eyes, again, because it's got that really beautiful silky type of finish, and also it is slightly brightening as well. And when I feel my skin, it just feels silky smooth. So at this stage, it does look really beautiful. So next we've got the Dior Forever. This is the Nude Matte Filter, and this is the one that comes in 5 shades. I picked up shade 2. I wasn't sure whether to get shade 2 or 3. The foundation that I wear with Dior is 2.5N. So I thought it'd be better for a setting powder. I didn't want to go too dark, so that's why I decided on number 2. So hopefully it's going to be okay. Now this one has slightly more grams in it than the Radiant filter one. So as I mentioned, the Radiant one, that has 6 grams of product. And this one here, the Nude Matte Filter, this has 9 grams of product. It still has the same shelf life of 12 months from date of opening, and this is also made in France. So before I hold this one up to the camera, I did do a collage of the different 5 shades together. The lightest shade, number 1, is in the middle, and then the others around the outside of it. And this is exactly the same outside packaging, the same color as the Radiant one. And here is what shade 2 looks like. So once again, I'm just going to put my finger in there. Now it does feel really smooth, probably not quite as smooth as the Radiant one, although there's not much between them. So this one feels like it would be more of a mattifying setting powder. It does feel really beautiful, and of course it does have a bit more color to it because this is shade 2. So I'm just going to swatch this on the back of my hand. I'll put on another layer and hopefully you'll be able to see that on camera. So here it is swatched on the back of my hand. I think this is going to be a really good shade for me. You can hardly see it there. And when I feel it, again, it has that beautiful silky feeling, and I can feel that it has not a dried down flat matte, but it definitely has mattified. Now also with the Dior Forever, the Nude Matte Filter, this one here, the ingredients are slightly different, and I did take a screenshot of that as well. So I'll put that up now so you can pause and take a look. So let's have a look what it says on the Dior website about this powder here. It says it's the first setting powder with a radiant matte blur finish. So again, you've got that blur going on, and from the swatch, I can imagine that it is going to blur as well. And the one that I just put on, it definitely does blur. It actually looks really, still does look really beautiful. So this with a radiant matte blur finish, an innovative filter effect that instantly blurs imperfections with a no makeup effect, blending seamlessly into the skin. It sets and enhances the appearance of makeup for 24 hours while also controlling shine from morning to night. The complexion is even and pores and imperfections are blurred all day long. The perfecting pigments leave a silky, ultra lightweight, barely there veil on the skin. Infused with hyaluronic acid, the formula hydrates the skin and offers 24 hours of comfort. It's always amusing when they do the 24 hours because I would never wear my makeup for 24 hours. But often I do wear my makeup for probably average anywhere between at least 8 hours, probably more like 12 hours. And then it also says here the shades 6 tone on tone effect nude shades. Well, on the website there is only 5 shades, so I'm not sure whether that's a mistake or there is going to be another shade as well, but at this stage on the New Zealand Dior website there's only the 5 shades. So again, they say to apply this multi-use setting powder with a Dior Backstage brush, the number 14 that I don't have, on its own for perfecting effect, so you can wear it without foundation or over foundation to extend wear, or the T-zone for a matte look. So today obviously it's going to be over the foundation, but I imagine if you just wanted a perfected look and blurred and you really wanted that no makeup look, then it would probably look really beautiful as well. So again, I'm also going to put this under my eyes. So I'll start off with just putting some on my finger and just applying a very small amount under my eyes. Just tap it through there. So when I put powder on using my finger, I really just tap in very lightly and just put on a very small amount because I don't ever want it to look cakey, but I do want it to set the concealer that I have on. So now I'm just going to wipe down the brush that I use, give that a really good wipe down. Then I'm going to swirl into the powder and just sweep this on and put it on how I would normally put my powder on, just like when I put on that one there. So I don't know whether you can see it on camera, but it's more mattified. It's not a dried down awful mattifying look at all, but compared to the radiant side, so there you can still see that radiance through there, and when I feel that side, probably not quite as set down as when I first did it. It still feels really lovely though, whereas this side, it feels more mattified than when I did this side here. So I'm just going in very lightly with my brush and just tapping in. And again, of course, this one has a fragrance as well. So this is the Nude Matte Filter side, shade number 2. and this is the Nude Radiant Filter side. So I will show it to you in natural light in a minute, but I can see that this is more radiant, but it's not too glowy. I was a little bit concerned when I first saw these products, and I thought it might show sparkle, but it doesn't. It just shows this very soft, blurred out luminescence. There's nothing sparkly to it at all. It actually is really beautiful. So I'm hoping that this one will wear really well during the day, because then I would wear both powders. Now this side, I think, just looks absolutely beautiful. Now when I come back from showing you in the other room, I'm not going to put on bronzer because I don't want it to cover up the powders too much, but I am going to put on a little bit of blush and also a little bit of highlighter as well. So what I'm going to do now is go out into another room. There's plenty of windows and there's a lot of light. It is raining today, but because we have so many windows, a lot of light still comes through, and I just want to show you what this looks like in natural light. So here I am out in the lounge, and it's actually raining fairly hard outside, but because of I have a big door on that side, the glass door, and window in front of me, window to the left as well, there still is lots of natural light. So on this side is the radiant filter, and on this side is the matte filter. They do have the most beautiful blurring effect, both of them do. They're just absolutely gorgeous, and when I feel it, my skin, it just feels like silk. And the radiant one has really surprised me. It looks so much better than I thought it was going to. It's really beautiful. Although I don't know, as I mentioned earlier, how it's going to last. I'll wear this for at least 8 hours and do that final check-in and let you know. Probably it could be suited for my oily skin during these cooler months. And this one I'm hoping will keep my skin mattified throughout the day, and when I show you later on, be late this afternoon or early evening, and hopefully my skin does stay mattified, because this one would be great for me all year round. But both feel absolutely beautiful when you put them on. So at this stage I really don't have a favorite. It really depends what type of look that I'm after. Probably for this time of the year, as long as this one looks like this for the rest of the day and my skin doesn't tend to go too oily, then I'd probably go for this one more this time of the year, and this one when the weather warms up a little bit and during those hot months as well. But at this stage I think both look really beautiful. Now for under my eyes, again, that's something that I'll have to see as it goes throughout the day. They both look really beautiful under my eyes at this stage, but usually powder does. The best test for powder is when you wear them for a few hours and see how it looks then. But at this stage both look really lovely. So now I'm going to go back into the room and pop on some blush and highlighter. So as I mentioned earlier, I'm not going to put on any bronzer because I don't want to cover up the powder too much, but I really do want to put on some blush, and I picked up a new shade, Dior one, and I think this is called, I think it's Siage, and then I got the highlighter in Tutu, so I want to try both of those out, but I thought that the shade looked really, really pretty. So I'm just going to go fairly easy with it and just put on smallest amount and just build it up very slowly. Now of course the blush could be just really gliding on, but I think it's the powder underneath just makes it just glide on just so beautifully. Now I think the shade is really gorgeous. I hadn't bought a Dior blush in quite a while, or one that wasn't a new release limited edition one, and I just thought the shade looked really pretty and I would use it for my everyday makeup, and I think it's really, really gorgeous. So just going to put it over the side. Now this is the one with the radiant filter on. These blushes do go on really lovely, but because they're powder underneath, they really, it just feels like powder going on, just going over silk. It feels really beautiful. And then I also picked up one of the Dior Forever Glow Maximizers. This is the shade Tutu. I absolutely love these. This is quite a bright pink, has a little bit of sparkle in it. Now I'm only going to use it as a highlight. Often you can use these as a blush as well, but today I'm just going to put a couple of dots just on my cheekbone through there, And that is really, really pretty. I just love these. I have about 6 or 7 of them, I think. And as I said, I often use them as a blush, but I thought today I'd just use a tiny amount as a highlight as well. Now, I'm glad that I haven't put bronzer on, so you'll be able to see through here and also through here how the powder is looking. Again, I don't know whether you'll be able to see it on camera, but this side with the radiant on it, I can see that little bit of radiance through here, whereas this side is more matte, but in no way is it a flat matte, and both powders feel very comfortable on. And when I touch this side, it still feels silky smooth, and on this side as well. So what I'll do is I'll come back in about 8 hours time and let you know how these are wearing. But after first application, they just look absolutely stunning. So it's now been just over 8 hours since I first put on both of these filter powders, and I'd have to say that they are wearing really well, and especially the radiant side. This is the radiant powder here. You can see that radiance through there still, but it didn't go greasy at all. They just look so beautiful. And of course this side is the matte side, and that looks really lovely too. Now under my eyes, it's after 8 hours and I'm actually feeling a little bit tired. You can see my eyes are a little bit red as well, but underneath the powder looks really, really beautiful. It doesn't seem to be settling into my lines, and I don't know which one I really prefer, whether this one or this one here, the radiant. So the matte under the eye here or the radiant, I think both look really lovely. I do think the radiant looks gorgeous and it hasn't gone too much, especially with my oily skin. But I do think for those warmer months, I think perhaps then more oils would come through. It's quite cold here today, so I've had the fire going and it's really warm inside the house. So with the fire going, you also get that dry heat as well. And of course it doesn't dry out my skin, but it makes it a lot less oily than it normally would be. But I think overall that this powder looks beautiful, and the way that it feels when you put it on between your fingers, it feels like silk. When I swatched it, it was like silk, and when I put it on, it just gave the most beautiful blurred canvas. And you saw earlier when I was applying the blush, the products that I put on, they just glided over the top. They are just really, really beautiful. Now just very quickly, I'm not going to go into too much detail and do side by side swatches because I don't think you would really see much of a difference with swatches, but I might hold the two different powders up just so you can see the shade difference if you can. So I'll hold them up. I have got the YSL. This is the setting powder. Now this is really lovely, but it doesn't feel, I mean this feels, it is a lovely powder, but the Dior one that I've tried out today, they just feel very, very smooth, smoother than this one here. So this shade here, this one is number 1, so I'll hold it up beside the Dior one. So here we've got the Dior shade number 2, and this is the YSL one, and this is the shade 01. Next I've got the Tom Ford, the soft matte blurring powder. This is shade 02 in Ivory Fawn, and they look fairly similar as well. And the Tom Ford one is the one that I use under my eyes a lot. Next I've got the Prada, the Reset powder, which looks completely different. It is green, but of course it doesn't look green on the face. But between the two, the way that they feel on the skin, I prefer the Dior over the Prada one, although the Prada one is really lovely and works well with oily skin. Next is the Westman Atelier powder, and this is in the shade Creme, and this is the one that I use under my eyes. It's not so great for the rest of my face with my oily skin. So that's the shade comparison. So it does look quite a lot lighter than the Dior one. And finally, I've got the Hourglass, the airbrush one, and this is in the shade, the Hourglass in translucent medium, and this is one that I use under my eyes as well. So I think it was better for you me holding up those different setting powders that I use side by side in the pan instead of doing swatches on the hand, because I don't think you would get to see the shades. So out of all the ones that I've tried, this Dior one is going to be possibly number one. It goes beautifully on the face. Like I said, it has that beautiful blurring effect. Now also the Tom Ford one does as well, but this one with my oily skin works beautifully under the eyes. I use this one a lot under my eyes, but for the rest of my face it doesn't tend to set that well. I find that the oils just break through a little bit too much. Again, it's probably okay for this time of the year when it's cooler, but out of the two I think the Dior one just feels that little bit more luxurious. And of course, is this new Dior powder going to trump my beloved the Chanel Natural Finish Loose Powder? Well, for one, this is the loose powder. These are a pressed powder, and this one is more mattifying. It doesn't feel quite as silky as this one, but this one definitely has, I would say, it's more mattifying, and this is the one that I can rely on any time of the year, especially in those warmer months. But I just thought I'd mention it, even though it's different to the pressed powders here. But overall, I think these are just beautiful. They give such a beautiful canvas, and they say they're setting powders. I think they also can be used as a finishing powder as well. I think you could use your favorite setting powder, and then you could use these throughout the day, and because they're a pressed powder, they're easy to take with you. They're not going to get messy like a loose powder, and you can just top it up during the day. Just top up if there's any bits that are coming through your T-zone. Really simple to do with these type of powders. Now the real surprise for me was the Radiant one. I thought it was going to be a little bit sparkly to give that radiance, but it doesn't. It gives this very subtle ethereal, I sort of don't know how to describe it, because it's not really luminous, because that's not the word. It does just give this ethereal radiance, really subtle, but absolutely beautiful. And it also goes really beautifully under the eye as well. So I'm really pleased with that. I thought I'd be picking the Radiant one up just for review purposes, but because it has worked out so well, I'll be able to just interchange between these two, or even use both of them. I could use the Radiant one under my eyes, or the matte one under my eyes, and then the Radiant for the rest of my face, especially for this time of the year. So I'm absolutely thrilled with both of the powders that I picked up. I think they are gorgeous, from the packaging right down to how the texture of it is, and how it just smooths out your skin. And it really does give, like they say on their website, it really does give this gorgeous blurring effect. And I'm going to get questions of when is this going to be released in the US and elsewhere, but at this stage I'm not too sure. It has been released in New Zealand and Australia online at Dior. So that's it for today's video. I would love it if you gave it a like and subscribed, and I will see you next time. Bye.